Chapter 1403. She didn't refute and only nodded at him. Yes, I understand. The latter also nodded at her, then turned around and left to prepare. On the day of the sage monarch's tomb meeting, Luo Qingtong brought family whose people to the Ouyang residence. Yu Sihuang didn't go with her. He had consolidated the forces of the southern mountain range and had to stay there to preside over the overall situation. Yu Xingqi was also called over to help. Luo Qingtong and the others arrived at the gate of the Ouyang residence. When the guard of the Ouyang residence heard that they were family whose people, he immediately glanced at Luo Qingtong and then sent someone to report inside. At the same time, he let Luo Qingtong and the others in. Luo Qingtong looked at the guard's action of running inside and suddenly raised her eyebrows. She didn't say anything and directly walked inside. In the inner courtyard, when Feng Wan heard that Luo Qingtong and family whose people had arrived, he sneered and stood up. He said to the group of maidservants and guards behind him, "Let's go, we'll walk around the front courtyard. Bring the thing I want." "Yes." The group of maidservants and guards replied in unison. The maidservant at the front carried a small basket in her hand. Inside the basket, there seemed to be something moving inside. The group of people walked towards the front courtyard in a grandiose manner. Luo Qingtong and the others were already close to the inner courtyard's venue. Along the way, they met many people from other clans. The further in they went, the more people they met from other clans. Just as Luo Qingtong and the others turned a corner and were about to see the martial arts arena in front of them, a low cry suddenly came from not far away. "Ah! Yin Bao!" Suddenly hearing such a voice, Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly turned cold. She then turned her head to look in the direction of the voice. "Ao ao." At this time, a small silver figure pounced at Luo Qingtong. It howled in a low voice, with the milky breath of a cub. Luo Qingtong subconsciously wanted to raise her hand to catch it. At this time, an attack suddenly blasted on the small silver figure. Boom! The small silver figure was instantly hit by the attack and fell to the ground, crying out in grief. "I'm sorry. My silver fox must have disturbed everyone." A woman wearing a white gauze robe, surrounded by a group of maidservants and guards, walked over from the inner courtyard of the Ouyang residence. The woman's face was delicate, and her temperament was cold. She had a noble and cold aura. She looked very noble and unapproachable. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at the woman. "She's to the Ouyang residence, and the other clans to the Ouyang family, and the others, and the other clans, the Ouyang clans ts, the clan. I didn't expect it to be so wild and hard to tame. It actually went berserk and hurt people. It even scratched my hand. I'm really sorry." Following the woman's voice, everyone looked at her hands. Sure enough, they saw several deep scratches on the back of her left hand. The scratches were fresh, and the blood was still seeping out. It was obvious that she'd just been scratched. When everyone looked at the scratches, the woman's cold voice sounded again. "This little bastard attacked people and almost hurt our distinguished guests. This is unforgivable. Beat him." Chapter 1404. Two guards appeared behind her. They raised the whips in their hands and lashed out at the silver fox on the ground. Ow ow ow. The silver fox lay on the ground, its fur soaked in blood. It had been injured by the previous attack. Now it was lying on the ground, being lashed by the whips. It cried out in pain. As it cried out, it kept looking in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Its eyes were full of longing and hope, as if it was looking at the light of its salvation. "Master." Hu Yinyang looked at the scene and was very surprised. What was going on? Why was Silver Baby here? Didn't Master say that it had been taken away? Could it be that there was an accident? Hu Yinyang looked at Luo Qingtong. She knew how much her master treasured the silver fox. If anyone dared to touch it, her master wouldn't let them off. It's not silver, baby. Luo Qingtong glanced at the silver fox and knew that it wasn't her silver baby. It wasn't just because the fox's claws weren't wearing the Shifang dragon ring, but because the fox's eyes weren't right. After all, the ring could be taken off. Besides, that ring originally belonged to Yi Qianxian. It wasn't surprising that someone else could take it off the silver fox's claws. But the eyes wouldn't lie. Her silver baby's eyes were very similar to Yi Qianxian's. Even when it was playing around and acting cute, there was always a hint of disdain in its eyes. It was disdain for itself. But even if it was so disdainful, it was still willing to act cute and play around for her. And when her silver baby was bullied, it wouldn't look at her as if she was its savior. It would only look at those who dared to bully it coldly, like a king. And when she saved it, it would still look at her with disdain and depression. This was just a silver fox, not her silver child. Luo Qingtong was stunned for a moment at first, but then she reacted. But even if the other party wasn't silver baby, Luo Qingtong still felt very uncomfortable seeing this little fox that looked so similar to silver baby being whipped and abused. Especially since the person behind the scenes was obviously targeting her. Although the silver fox was not silver baby, it had been deliberately trained to look like silver baby in order to deal with it. Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. At that moment, the woman noticed her gaze and sneered inwardly. Does evil Dr. Ghost I feel heartache? The smile on Feng Wuan's lips turned slightly cold. There would be even more heart-wrenching things to come. That's right, this woman was Feng Wuan, who had appeared as Ouyang Xiao's fiancée. She had prepared the silver fox specifically for Luo Qingtong. She had already found out everything about Luo Qingtong, or rather, Yi Zhou, in Family Hu. She knew that the latter had a silver fox that she liked very much and treated it like a treasure. She immediately thought that it must have been a gift from Yi Qianxian. Because only something from Yi Qianxian could make evil Dr. Ghost Eye, who had always been cold and unrestrained, care so much. When Feng Wuan found out about it, she was so angry that her eyes turned red. She had specially asked the Ouyang family to find a silver fox for her. Using a little trick, she had trained it to look like silver baby. She had been waiting for this day. Coincidentally, the silver fox beside Luo Qingtong also disappeared at this moment. The heavens were really helping her. Chapter 1405. She was waiting for Luo Qingtong to lose her patience and ask her for the little fox. It would be best if she mistook the little fox for Silver Bao. That way, she would have more ways to deal with the other party. With that thought in mind, Feng Wuan ordered the two guards to whip the little fox even more viciously. The two of them had received Feng Wuan's orders in advance. They whipped the little fox as hard as they could, but they purposely didn't harm the little fox's life. With this, the little fox's cries became even more mournful. Feng Wuan's methods made many people frown. These people were from families in Wildland City, so they were naturally used to seeing blood. But even so, they still felt pity for a cub that didn't have much actual killing power. Seeing that the little silver fox had been beaten to such a state, and Feng Yuan didn't seem to be prepared to let it go, they all frowned. They felt that the other party's heart was a bit too ruthless. This little fox had done something wrong. She could have killed it, but why torture it like this? Furthermore, she clearly knew that it was a little fox that she had picked up and hadn't trained yet. She had carelessly vented her anger on a little animal that didn't even have the strength to fight back. Wasn't that too shameless? Feng Wuan naturally saw the changes in everyone's eyes. But she didn't care. It was just that Luo Qingtong didn't move, but Feng Wuan was starting to lose her cool. This little fox had been abused by her a few times before. It was already strong on the outside but weak on the inside. It wouldn't live for much longer. And just now, she had purposely provoked it to run towards Luo Qingtong. On top of that, she had hit it and whipped it. No matter how careful the two guards were, it wouldn't be able to survive for long. At that time, her plan to deal with Luo Qingtong would all be for naught. Thinking of this, she suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "This must be Lord Yi Jiuzhou, right?" Luo Qingtong's hair was tied up with a jade crown. She was wearing a thin green robe. Although her face was disguised, she still looked delicate and handsome. Hearing Feng Wuan's question, she raised her eyebrows and looked at her. "Here it comes." She sneered in her heart. The other party really couldn't hold it in anymore. Feng Wuan. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with a bloody light. Long ago, when she thought that the person behind the scenes was coming for her, Luo Qingtong had already activated her eye technique. At this moment, Feng Yuan's true appearance after disguising herself was completely exposed before her eyes. The other party didn't have the same strength as Yi Qianren to be able to conceal her true appearance. At this moment, in front of Luo Qingtong's eye technique, it was completely exposed. "It's really her." Luo Qingtong sneered in her heart. "Miss, why did you call me?" She looked at Feng Wuan, as if she didn't know the other party's identity at all. No reason. Feng Wuan really didn't expect that Luo Qingtong could see through her identity at a glance. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said coldly, "I just want to know why this little silver fox kept looking at you mournfully when it was being tortured. What's going on? I heard that when you were at Family Hu, you also had a little fox by your side called Yinbao. I wonder where that little fox is now." Since the first plan didn't work, she had to come up with another one. Since Luo Qingtong didn't ask her for the little fox, then she would directly pin the identity of the little fox on Luo Qingtong. According to what Feng Wuan knew, the little fox by Luo Qingtong's side had disappeared for several days. If it hadn't run away, then it had been taken away by someone. Since that was the case, wouldn't it be easy for her to say the identity of the little fox? As long as she could confirm the identity of this little fox, she would be able to accuse Luo Qingtong of harboring evil intentions and allowing a fox to commit murder. Chapter 1406. Oh. Do you mean that this little fox is mine? Luo Qingtong looked at Feng Wuan. Isn't it? Feng Wuan's eyes were cold. He raised his head and looked down at Luo Qingtong. I suddenly picked up this little fox a few days ago. At that time, I was wondering why such a little silver fox would come to the Ouyang family. From the looks of it, this little fox was sent by you on purpose, right? Just to win my sympathy, you left this little fox in the Ouyang family and waited for it to suddenly come out and hurt people on a big day like today's banquet. Feng Wuan looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and said in a deep voice, "Ninth young master, I don't know what grudges you have with the Ouyang family. How dare you harm us like this?" As she spoke, the expression on her face had already turned stern. "So, you're sure that this little fox is mine?" Luo Qingtong's expression did not change. She just looked at her indifferently. If an ordinary person encountered such a thing, they would have been furious. No matter how bad it was, they would be a little surprised. Luo Qingtong's face was expressionless. Feng Wuan was a little unsure of what Luo Qingtong wanted to do. She asked with a cold look, "Isn't it? If it isn't, how do you explain that this little silver fox ran to you when it saw you and deliberately hurt people? Now, when it was being tortured, it was desperately looking at you. Ninth young master, if you insist on not admitting it, then please take out the little silver fox beside you. If I've wronged you, I'll apologize to you immediately." Before Feng Wuan could finish his words, Luo Qingtong's cold voice sounded. "You really should apologize to me." At this point, Luo Qingtong had already stepped out from the crowd of Family Hu. She looked coldly at Feng Wuan and the others and said coldly, "You beat up my little fox like this. I do want an explanation from you and the Ouyang family. You. When Feng Wan heard Luo Qingtong's words, he was obviously stunned. He never thought that Luo Qingtong would admit it. Did she admit that this little fox was hers? Feng Wan's mind was a little confused. He did not react for a while. In his opinion, Luo Qingtong should be trying her best to defend herself. However, he continued to force her. Luo Qingtong could not prove that this little fox was not her little fox. She could only bear the blame of being a scheming schemer with the intention to harm the Ouyang family. What was going on now? Even with Feng Wan's intelligence and level of scheming, his brain was suddenly stuck in a shell. He could not wrap his head around it for a long time. He did not know what Luo Qingtong was trying to do. The other party admitted it just like that. Feng Wan looked at Luo Qingtong and did not say anything for a while. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others behind Luo Qingtong were also shocked. When Feng Wan asked Luo Qingtong just now, they already knew that the other party was deliberately targeting Luo Qingtong. However, like Feng Wan, they could not understand why Luo Qingtong admitted it so directly. Wasn't this giving the other party a chance to make things difficult for her? As Hu Yinyang thought of this, he could not help but take a step forward and wanted to call out Luo Qingtong. Gong! When the words were about to come out of her mouth, she suddenly thought of something and swallowed them back. Chapter 1407. Your little fox came to our Ouyang family for no reason. Not only did it attack us, but it also ran into the crowd on purpose. If the people of the other clans are hurt, wouldn't our Ouyang clan be the scapegoat for no reason? I haven't even asked you if you had any ulterior motives, and you want us to apologize to you. What do you mean? Feng Wan's face hardened as he spoke. Exactly what I said. Luo Qingtong looked at him calmly. You also said that my little fox came to your place for no reason. Since you knew that it was called Silver Bow and that I had a little silver fox with me, you deliberately kept it in the Ouyang family so that I couldn't find it during this period of time. That's not all. You deliberately let it out at this time to attack people and then beat it up in front of me. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she pointed at the little fox that was beaten to its last breath and said coldly, shouldn't the Ouyang family be the one apologizing to me? My little fox was beaten to this state by you, and the Ouyang family is still playing the blame game. Are you bullying me and family who because we don't have anyone behind us? This debt, I will naturally settle it with the Ouyang clan later. But first, I want to collect some interest from you. Break their hands. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed at the two guards who had beaten the little fox. She had seen clearly that each time the two of them hit the little fox, they specifically hit the softest and most vulnerable part of the little fox. They didn't use much strength, but it was very painful. They were so cruel and merciless to a little fox. Even if they were following orders, it was unforgivable. Because they clearly didn't have to be so heavy-handed. Yes. Following Luo Qingtong's order, people from family whose side immediately rushed out. Chu Lingfeng was the first to take the lead and directly crippled the hands of the two guards. His movements were extremely simple and crude. The moment the two guards came face to face with him, they instantly let out a blood-curdling scream. Their hands that were holding the long whips were broken in an instant. It was the kind of fracture that was completely destroyed by brute force. The bones and the flesh were shattered into pieces and could not be reconnected. The hands of these two guards were completely crippled. You! How dare you! Feng Wan gritted her teeth as she watched this scene. She never thought that Luo Qingtong would turn the tables in such a way. The other party's way of thinking simply defied common sense. She was the one who was slandering her. She actually used their slander to deal with them. Shouldn't a normal person, when encountering such a situation, retreat and clear their name first? Luo Qingtong did the opposite. The one who tore people apart was torn apart instead. This was the first time that Feng Yuan had met someone like Luo Qingtong, who was so unscrupulous and domineering that she didn't even suffer a single loss. She gritted her teeth so hard that they were about to bleed. That little fox came to our Ouyang family on her own accord. Yi Jiu, you're deliberately distorting the truth. Slandering us. When Feng Yuan said this, she almost vomited out a mouthful of blood from her heart. She had racked her brains to slander Luo Qingtong, but in the end, the one who was forced to cry out for injustice was herself. There was really nothing that could make her feel more vexed than this. Feng Yuan had always boasted that she was more scheming than others, but time and time again, she had been defeated by Luo Qingtong. It really made her so angry that she almost vomited out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1408. So, I was the one who told you to keep it. Was I the one who told you to keep it? Luo Qingtong sneered. You kept my little fox, deliberately released it when I came to the sage monarch's tomb, and then slandered me for having ulterior motives. You people from the Ouyang clan are stupid, but don't think that others are the same as you. You! Luo Qingtong's words were simply cutting to the heart. When Feng Yuan heard this, he almost couldn't hold back the taste of blood in his throat. Shouldn't Luo Qingtong be the one to say all this? Shouldn't such aggressive and strict questioning be his own lines? If he didn't know the truth of the matter, if he didn't know that this little fox was in fact, he would have found it to cause trouble for Luo Qingtong and slander her. Feng Yuan almost believed that Luo Qingtong was telling the truth. If even she thought so, then there was no need to talk about the others. Feng Yuan was really angry. His body couldn't help but tremble, and he pointed at Luo Qingtong for a long time, unable to speak for a long time. Pa! Luo Qingtong's figure suddenly flashed, and before anyone could react, she had ruthlessly slapped Feng Yuan's face. In an instant, the latter's face swelled up high, like a big white steamed bun. Luo Qingtong's expression was cold. This slap is a little interest I'm collecting from you on behalf of my silver baby. As for the matter of the Ouyang clan slandering me, I will thoroughly seek justice at the sage monarch's tomb. No need to thank me for showing mercy. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she looked at Feng Yuan, who was in a daze. He hadn't expected to be hit in the first place. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a cold smile. She waved her hand and picked up the dying silver fox. Then, she led Hu Yenyang and the others away. Ow wow! The silver fox whimpered weakly, reaching out its tongue to lick the Luo Qingtong. It had been trained by Feng Yuan to subconsciously search for Luo Qingtong's aura. This was because when it was around Feng Yuan, it would only be able to avoid being beaten if it ran in front of something with this aura. Luo Qingtong lowered her head to look at the little fox in her arms. The latter's entire body was as thin as ribs, and it was extremely hard to touch. Not to mention, the injuries in its body were a ghastly sight. From this, it could be seen what kind of abuse this little guy had suffered in the hands of Feng Yuan. If the real Yin Bao had fallen into the hands of the other party, it probably wouldn't have lived to see her again. As Luo Qingtong thought of this, the light in her eyes became even colder. If it weren't for the fact that the timing wasn't right, she definitely wouldn't have let Feng Yuan escape so easily. He dared to use Yin Bao to threaten her. Even if it was just a little fox that looked very similar to Yin Bao, it would still be the same. Ah! After Luo Qingtong and the others had left, the stunned Feng Yuan finally came back to his senses. She screamed angrily, as if she wanted to tear everything in front of her to shreds. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye dared to hit her. He dared to hit her. He even called her stupid. Her carefully designed plan to humiliate Luo Qingtong would only end up humiliating herself. Feng Yuan was extremely angry. If that little silver fox was really Luo Qingtong's treasured fox, then so be it. In any case, all the humiliation she had suffered at Luo Qingtong's hands had been avenged by that little fox. Chapter 1409. In other words, she had tried her best to slander Luo Qingtong, but in the end, she had been slandered by the other party. Not only had she not vented her anger, she had also given her carefully planned weakness to the other party. Feng Yuan was truly infuriated. Her exquisite face that was like a celestial being that had been exiled to the mortal world was almost twisted into a ball at this moment. Evil, doctor, ghost, I. She gritted her teeth and coldly shouted. Every word was extremely cold, just like a ghost. At this time, Ouyang Shao and the others had received the news and rushed over. Holy Wuan, what is going on? In order to make it easier for Feng Wuan to hide her identity, after she became Ouyang Shao's fiancée, Ouyang Shao and the others also changed the way they addressed her. When Ouyang Shao and the others arrived at the scene, they saw the two guards lying on the ground and then looked at Feng Wuan's face. It was obvious that she had been beaten. Ouyang Shao immediately became angry. The woman he had taken a fancy to was now his fiancée, yet someone dared to beat her. What is going on here? He sternly shouted at the surrounding servants and guards who were as silent as cicadas in winter. It's. The group of servants and guards did not dare to hide anything and hurriedly told him what had just happened. At this time, Feng Wuan's voice rang out and cut them off. It's family who's Yizhou. Feng Wuan's eyes were cold. When I asked you to find me that little silver fox, I originally wanted to anger her. In the end, she directly said that the little silver fox was the one she raised and directly took it away. She even slapped me and crippled the two guards beside me. Feng Wuan's expression was cold. Her words, at first, seemed to be the same as the previous facts. But in reality, there was a big difference. Luo Qingtong became the bully who took advantage of her power and forcefully took her fox. And Feng Wuan completely became the victim. She didn't mention that she had tried to use the silver fox to slander Luo Qingtong and harm the Ouyang family. She made herself sound innocent. But if she really wanted to say that she was lying, she really didn't. The maids and guards of the Ouyang family felt that something was wrong with her words, but they couldn't tell what exactly was wrong. When Ouyang Shao asked them if that was the case, they could only agree. What a good Yizhou. Ouyang Shao's expression was cold. How dare you be impudent in our Ouyang clan? Let's go to the venue. Ouyang Shao angrily led a group of people in the direction of the martial arts practice field. Luo Qingtong had already sat down with family whose people were arranged in a very special position. They were actually seated at the very front, much closer to the front than the seats of the big families in Wilderness City. The guards of the Ouyang clan explained to the people of the other clans that this was because family Hu and Luo Qingtong had the map of the sage monarch's tomb. They were discussing how to enter the tomb together, so naturally, they had to sit at the front. But Luo Qingtong noticed that their seats were surrounded by people from the top clans. And the Huo clan was right across from them. This was getting interesting. Luo Qingtong gently stroked the silver fox in her arms, but she wasn't as enthusiastic as when she was with Yi Qianxian. This silver fox was different from Yin Bao. After saving this little guy, Luo Qingtong became more and more aware of this fact. She originally thought that Yin Bao was a gift from Yi Qianxian, plus it was a cute silver fox. That was why she was so indulgent and fond of it. Chapter 1410. At this moment, the little silver fox that had been rescued was 70 to 80% similar to Silver Bao. Furthermore, it had been trained by Feng Wuan to be very close and attached to her. The way it looked at her was also unusually passionate and affectionate. However, Luo Qingtong didn't have the same feelings as she did for Silver Bao. She teased the little silver fox in her arms. The latter's injuries had already completely healed. The hidden injuries inside had also been completely healed by Luo Qingtong's pupil technique. At this moment, it was snuggling up to Luo Qingtong. Under the girl's teasing, it whined and dodged. Sometimes, it didn't even understand what Luo Qingtong was doing. It just stared at her with its round eyes, a little confused and a little silly. In the end, it's nodded. Luo Qingtong was a little disappointed. Her little silver bow was indeed different from the rest. When Luo Qingtong teased it, it would be disdainful and depressed. Then, it would helplessly do as she wished. Little Silver Bow's performance was so intelligent that Luo Qingtong, who had never had a pet before, thought that the little silver fox was a smart and intelligent animal. But now, it seemed that only her silver bow was different. Those eyes were so lively that they didn't seem like they belonged to a little fox cub. Luo Qingtong was disappointed. Suddenly, a thought suddenly flashed through her mind. In this world, is there anyone who can suddenly turn into an animal? She transmitted her voice to Little Pig in her mind. The latter was lying on the ground floor of the 9-story exquisite pagoda, teasing the little golden mouse next to it. Hearing this, it was stunned for a moment. Then, it said, "There is, but it has to be a Yao." They were originally Yao in human form. Naturally, they can turn into animals. But Yao cultivation isn't that simple. Most of the Yao's strength can't even turn into human form. Why are you asking? Little Pig asked Luo Qingtong. It's nothing. I was just asking. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, but she was deep in thought. Yi Qianxian shouldn't be a Yao cultivator, right? She hadn't come into contact with other foxes before, so she didn't know. Now that she had come into contact with another little fox, Luo Qingtong realized that Silverbow was as smart as a spirit. In addition, it had the 10-dragon ring on its claws. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but wonder in her heart, could it be Yi Qianxian? The human and beast, whether it was their personalities or eyes, they were too similar. Luo Qingtong was deep in thought. If there was a chance in the future, she would go back and test it out. Just as she was thinking about this in her heart, not far away, Ouyang Shao brought the people of the Ouyang family and walked over aggressively. Not everyone from the assembly of the sage monarch's tomb had arrived yet, and the Ouyang clan and the other top aristocratic clans hadn't shown up yet. Therefore, the appearance of Ouyang Shao and the other top aristocratic clans attracted a lot of attention. Luo Qingtong sensed the commotion in the square and looked toward the source of the commotion. With this glance, he immediately saw Ouyang Shao and the others walking towards him aggressively with Feng Yuan following behind them. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. "Master." Hu Yinyang whispered beside her. She was very worried. Chapter 14:11. Hu Yinyang's heart was slightly anxious. She hurriedly ordered Family Hu's trusted bodyguard to wait at the entrance of the Ouyang residence. As soon as he saw Yu Sihuang and the others arrive, he immediately invited them over. Family Hu's bodyguard complied, turned around, and quietly blended into the crowd. "Yi Zhou." Ouyang Shao took large strides and walked in front of Luo Qingtong, looking down at the youth sitting in front of her. The youth was wearing a wide robe with narrow sleeves. The collar was slightly open, revealing one side of her delicate collarbone. In her arms, the silver fox, which was already intact as before, was crying softly. It was a silver ball, looking furry and very cute. It arched in Luo Qingtong's arms, its small soft claws pulling at the sleeves of Luo Qingtong's robe, causing Luo Qingtong's sleeves to pull up, revealing a small section of her delicate white wrist. Luo Qingtong's eyebrows were slightly raised. She was wearing a jade crown and a green robe. She clearly had an ordinary appearance, but with this glance, there was an indescribable evil that came from her bones. Even if Ouyang Shao was concerned about Feng Yuan, seeing this scene, his heart couldn't help but jump. The words he was about to say were stuck in his throat. However, Luo Qingtong's aura only appeared for a moment, and she quickly withdrew it. "I don't know why young Master Ouyang is looking for me." Luo Qingtong's eyebrows were slightly raised as she looked at Ouyang Shao. The latter also quickly recovered from his previous daze. He looked at Luo Qingtong with a very strange gaze. The other party's appearance was clearly very ordinary, nothing more than that. How could he have forgotten to blink when he was looking at her? Ouyang Shao's heart was filled with doubts, but he didn't forget the purpose of his visit, which was to seek justice for Feng Wan. He immediately said coldly, "Yi Zhou. Did you dare to lay your hands on my fiancé just now?" "Your fiancé?" Luo Qingtong said, looking at Feng Wan, who was not far behind him, walking over. Her. Luo Qingtong's heart was ruminating. The former first princess of Great Yong, the #1 genius, was very proud and arrogant. In her eyes, only Yi Qianxian was worthy of Yi Qianxian. Now, she was willing to be Ouyang Shao's fiancé. Luo Qingtong absolutely didn't believe that Feng Wan wasn't doing this to make it easier for him to deal with her. That's right. Wan Her is my fiancé. When Ouyang Shao looked at Feng Yuan, his eyes were filled with infatuation. Then, when he looked at Luo Qingtong again, his face was filled with anger, and. Once Ouyang Shao's words left his mouth, everyone in the venue instantly looked at Luo Qingtong. The latter was indeed holding a little fox in her arms. Could it be that he really snatched it from young Master Ouyang's fiancé? And he even injured her and the Ouyang family's guards? If that was the case, then this Yi Zhou was really daring. Did he think that with the map of the Saint King's tomb and Yu Si Wang's support, he could do whatever he wanted in Wildland City? The Ouyang family was the top family in Wildland City. Their strength was even stronger than the other top families. Yi Zhou actually dared to provoke them. This time, she was in big trouble. That Imperial Emperor's sect master probably wouldn't protect her for such a matter. Chapter 14:12. Is that what she told you? Luo Qingtong asked in amusement. She looked at Feng Wan with a mocking gaze. Reduced to relying on a man to get back at her, was this the confidence of Feng Wan as the #1 princess and #1 genius of Great Yong? If this was the case, then it was no wonder that she had always lost to her. It was difficult to achieve great things by relying on others. Luo Qingtong thought that Feng Wan would think of some way to deal with her. She did not expect that she would incite Ouyang Shao to deal with her. How much did she want to suppress her? Did she think that by relying on the Ouyang family, she could make her helpless and bow her head to her? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. On the other side, Ouyang Shao thought that she was denying it and said coldly, "Is that not the case? The little fox in your hand is..." He was just about to say that he had found this little fox for Feng Wan. However, Feng Wan had previously used this little fox to impersonate Yin Bao and vainly tried to slander Luo Qingtong for having ulterior motives and wanting to harm the Ouyang family. At that time, there were many people present and all of them heard what she said. Naturally, she could not let Ouyang Shao speak the truth and slap her face. She immediately interrupted him, "Forget it, Shao. Let's leave it at that. On a day like today, don't affect the cooperation between the Ouyang family and the other families because of my matter." After saying this, she suddenly turned to Luo Qingtong and whispered, "Ninth young master, I'll give you this little fox." Feng Wan's words were extremely skillful. She did not mention what had happened before and only spoke from the Ouyang family's point of view. She looked as if she had been wronged and had to bear a heavy burden. Especially the last sentence, "I'll give you." It gave people a feeling of extreme forbearance. Those who knew what had happened just now thought that she was saying that she wanted to return this little fox to Luo Qingtong. But what he didn't know, especially in Ouyang Shao's ears, it sounded like Luo Qingtong had indeed snatched Feng Wan's fox, but the latter had decided to endure the humiliation for the sake of the Ouyang family and not haggle with the other party. But how was that possible? The woman he fancied was being bullied in her own home. The person who bullied her was her enemy. the person whom he had promised to avenge her. If he let Ouyang Xiao settle the matter peacefully, where would he put his face? What's more, Feng Wuan was still his fiancée. Ouyang Xiao was delighted when he heard her call him Ah Xiao. He thought that he was about to capture the heart of the beauty. It was impossible for him to let go of Luo Qingtong so easily. This is impossible. Luan, get out of the way. Ouyang Xiao coldly blocked Feng Wuan to the side. With a calm expression, he looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Yi Zhou. I'll give you two choices now. 1. Return this little fox to me and kowtow to my fiancé as an apology. I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise. He sneered at Luo Qingtong and said, leave that hand of yours behind. Whichever hand you used to hit my fiancé, chop off that hand for me. I'll let you take this little fox away. As he said that, he suddenly raised his hand and pointed at the little fox in Luo Qingtong's arms. Chapter 14:13. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and stroked the silver fox in her arms, soothing its emotions. Then, she looked coldly at Ouyang Xiao and said, is that so? Then I'll give you two choices. 1. Luo Qingtong said indifferently and casually, you and her, kneel down and beg for mercy. Maybe I'll consider letting bygones be bygones. 2. The two of you, cut off one hand each and give it to me. How about it? Luo Qingtong smiled and looked at Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wuan. How dare you? Ouyang Xiao was furious. He gave Luo Qingtong a choice in a condescending manner. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong would take advantage of the situation and directly return the silver fox and apologize to Feng Wuan. He didn't expect the latter to return the favor with the same words. This Yi Zhou was really too presumptuous. She thought that this was the Sage Monarch's Tomb Conference, and it was organized by the Ouyangs. In addition, she had the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb in her hands, and she had the backing of the Imperial Emperor's sect. Would he not dare to attack her? She was too presumptuous. Based on what she said to him just now, he could attack her. Even if the Imperial Emperor's sect's leader questioned them, the Ouyangs would have a reason. Moreover, who knew why the Imperial Emperor's sect's leader was helping her and family who? Maybe it was just for the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb. He just wanted to look good, so he said that he was helping her and family who? The more Ouyang Xiao thought about it, the more convinced he was. He immediately waved his sleeves and said to the Ouyang's guards, stop family whose people. Yi Zhou. You said you want to take our hands. Let's see who's going to take whose hands. As Ouyang Xiao said this, the aura around him exploded. His entire body was like a fierce tiger descending the mountain, and he went straight for Luo Qingtong. His goal was very obvious, and that was to chop off Luo Qingtong's hands. He wanted her to pay the price for what she said before. A brat from God knows where. With the power of the imperial sect and family whose map of the Sage Monarch's tomb, how dare they act so presumptuously in front of him? Since she wasn't willing to chop off that hand, then he would do it for her. Bang! Ouyang Xiao's aura exploded. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She raised her hand and pushed Hu Yenyang away. At the same time, he threw the frightened little fox from his arms into the other's arms. Take care of it for me. The little fox's performance made Luo Qingtong realize that Silver Bao was different from the rest. If Silver Bao was here, it would definitely grab onto her clothes tightly and cleverly hide in her arms to protect itself. Would she still use that pair of extremely cold and icy eyes to look at those who dared to hurt her? It looked as if it wanted to remember all those people so that it could settle the score in the future. Silver Bao's intelligence, agility, boldness, and agility, including the murderous aura that seemed to look down on the world when it fought with others, was not something an ordinary little animal could possess. In the past, she only thought that this little fellow had been trained by Yi Qianxian. But now, it seemed that even if it had been trained, it shouldn't have no awareness of danger and the natural fear of small animals. With that thought, Luo Qingtong shook her wrist. The Tempest sword appeared in her hand, and she faced Ouyang Shao. Chapter 14:14. Bang! An attack suddenly appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. With a boom, it blocked Ouyang Shao's attack. At the same time, a figure suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Ouyang Shao. As his figure retreated rapidly, the figure raised his hand and restrained his figure. In the next second, Ouyang Shao's expression changed rapidly. With a "caw" sound, in an instant, he screamed miserably. The hand that was attacking Luo Qingtong was forcibly broken and hung by his side. White bones protruded from his wrist, with streaks of dark red blood dripping from them. At the same time, the part of Ouyang Shao's arm that was restrained by the figure's hand also caved in fiercely. 5 extremely obvious finger marks were imprinted on his arm. The blood, flesh, and bones inside were all crushed. The entire arm was twisted and twisted beyond recognition. Ah! Ouyang Shao screamed miserably while hugging the arm. The person who caused this just flung him away and looked at Luo Qingtong. "Little Joe, are you okay?" Yu Si Huang was wearing a red robe. He looked like a raging fire and was extremely gorgeous. It made his already devilishly handsome face even more difficult to look at. Compared to the charming and enchanting purple robe, the red robe Yu Si Huang looked more biting cold and domineering. He looked more like the king of the southern mountain range. As soon as he opened his mouth, the people who were watching all of this cursed in their hearts. How could something happen to Yi Zhou? The one who should be in trouble should be Ouyang Shao, right? The latter didn't even touch Yi Zhou and was dealt with by Yu Si Huang. It really was. Everyone looked at Ouyang Shao, who was thrown to the ground by Yu Si Huang. At this moment, he was rolling on the ground while hugging his arm. Yu Si Huang's attack was extremely ruthless. The strength qi that entered his arm rampaged through his flesh and blood, causing the pain on his arm to worsen. Even with Ouyang Shao's strength at the peak of the martial spirit realm, he could only roll on the ground while hugging his arm. At this moment, the Ouyang family head and the others who followed behind Yu Si Huang also hurried over. Beside them were the Hua family head and the other top family members. They met with Yu Si Huang and the others at the Ouyang family's gate. The Ouyang family head personally led the experts of the Ouyang family to the gate to welcome them. Suddenly, Yu Si Huang seemed to have received some news and rushed inside. The Ouyang family head and the others immediately felt that something was wrong. Thinking about the hatred between Feng Wan and Luo Qingtong, the Ouyang family head's face turned cold. He immediately brought the Ouyang family members and rushed over. When the family head and the others saw this, they naturally guessed that something happened to the Ouyang family. It was most likely related to family Hu and that Yi Zhou. His heart says, he brought the other top family, It was just that they didn't expect to see such a scene when they rushed over. Shouldn't it be family Hu and Yi Zhou who were bullied? Why did it seem like the people of the Ouyang clan were being slapped in the face in their own clan? They looked at Feng Wan's face, which obviously didn't have the palm print that she had just received, and the 2 Ouyang family guards behind her who had one of their hands crippled. Their faces suddenly turned silent. Chapter 14:15. Seeing Ouyang Shao lying on the ground, hugging his arm and howling in pain, his face was instantly filled with rage. "Gate Master Yu, what's going on? Shouldn't you explain yourself?" Ouyang family head ordered his men to help Ouyang Shao up for treatment, then looked coldly at Luo Qingtong and Yu Si Huang. His eyes were filled with unspeakable maliciousness. He had just brought his men to follow behind Yu Si Huang, and appeared only a few breaths later. In such a short period of time, only Yu Si Huang could injure Ouyang Shao like this. What's more, Ouyang Xiao's arm wound still had traces of Yu Si Wang's aura, and it had not completely dissipated. Explain. Explain what? Ouyang family head's eyes were cold, and Yu Si Wang's eyes were not to be outdone. He sneered as he looked at Ouyang family head. That pair of enchanting phoenix eyes glanced sideways at the other party. He flicked his sleeves, and his entire body's aura exploded like iron, cold and powerful. The person I value was attacked in your Ouyang family's territory, and the attacker was someone from your Ouyang family. You still dare to ask me for an explanation? Yu Si Wang's incomparably enchanting face, under the contrast of the anger and sternness on his face, appeared even more soul-stirring and captivating. What happened just now? If your Ouyang family doesn't give me an explanation, I'll let your Ouyang family bleed here today. Following Yu Si Wang's cold and stern voice, a series of clanging sounds came from beside him. In an instant, the experts of the southern region who followed him into the Ouyang family all pulled out their weapons, and coldly confronted the Ouyang family. To these experts of the southern region, Yu Si Wang was the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. He was also the representative of the southern region in the far west wilderness. Whether they were willing to help Luo Qingtong or not, at this moment, the latter was attacked maliciously under the circumstances where everyone knew that she was under Yu Si Wang's protection. That was contempt towards them and the entire southern region. This was something that could not be neglected. Otherwise, the people of the far west wilderness would think that the people of the southern region were easy to bully. They could casually bully them. Following the actions of the powerhouses from the southern region, the atmosphere instantly became tense. The surrounding air was heavy. Many people from the other clans were stunned when they saw this scene. Just like this, the Ouyang clan and the southern region were going to fight. On the other hand, the Huo clan and the other top clans were overjoyed. This was a good thing. When the Ouyang family cooperated with them, they didn't say that they would help them deal with Yi Jiu and the others. They only said that they wouldn't interfere in this matter and would let them do as they pleased. Patriarch Hua and the others knew that the Ouyang family wanted to take charge of the Saint Monarch's tomb. They wanted to reap huge benefits and prestige from it, so they didn't want to get involved in the matter of targeting Yi Jiu and family Hu and seizing the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. After all, whoever obtained the map of the Sage Monarch's tomb would eventually have to take it out and piece it together with them to form a new map. The Ouyang clan already had a map, so there was no need for them to snatch another one. However, these aristocratic families could not resist the temptation of the Sage Monarch's tomb map. But now, the Ouyang clan was directly confronting the people of the southern region. That was different. With the Ouyang clan and the other top clans taking action, they could completely take away family Hu and Yi Jiu from Yu Si Wang's hands. Chapter 14-16. As for Feng Wan, when she saw the Ouyang clan and Yu Si Wang going against each other, as well as the Huo clan head and the others, she felt that something was amiss. She smiled proudly in her heart. Previously, she had racked her brains to provoke Luo Qingtong. Wasn't it to make her go against the Ouyang clan directly? Now that she had achieved her goal, although it was a little frustrating, it was still a success. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the Imperial Sect Master by your side. This is the far west wilderness. This is the wilderness city. This is not the main city of the Black Field, nor the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. Once you go against the top clans here, let's see how unlucky you are. At that time, I will definitely spare your lowly life. After all, in the Saint King's tomb, I want you to see my glory with your own eyes. You want to see me rise again, become a saint, and completely trample you to the bottom of the mud. At that time, I will let you die with hatred and despair. You will become my most glorious witness and a stepping stone to my strength. Feng Wan sneered. This scene was what she had planned all along. The Ouyang clan was in a cooperative relationship with her. They could help her deal with Luo Qingtong, but they would not personally go against Yu Huang and the others. Now, under her plan, they could not do anything even if they did not want to. When Feng Yuan sneered, the Ouyang clan head also looked at Yu Huang with cold eyes. The imperial sect master is really arrogant. His voice was cold. The way he addressed Yu Huang, from the imperial sect master to the imperial sect master, was getting colder and colder. In our Ouyang clan, my son was seriously injured by you. He broke an arm, and 2 guards were completely crippled. My son's fiancée was also slapped. All these scenes are still vivid in my mind, and you say that our Ouyang clan is bullying others. Our Ouyang clan is bullying ourselves. Look at that Yi Jiu behind you. What's the matter? When the Ouyang clan head said this, he suddenly waved his sleeve angrily. In an instant, a strong force suddenly swept out from his sleeve and heavily blasted the ground under his feet, blasting it into a huge deep pit. It could be seen how angry he was. Actually, in the Ouyang family head's heart, he knew that it was most likely Ouyang Shao and the others who made the first move this time. This stupid son, he had already said before that if the holy doctor wanted to deal with Yi Jiu, she should vent her anger on her own. The Ouyang family should not interfere. Don't interfere. He had told him so many times. He still didn't listen. This time, he probably saw that the sage doctor had suffered a loss in the hands of this Yi Jiu, so he wanted to help the other party get back at him. Unfortunately, Yu Huang caught up to him, and instead, he was oppressed. However, knowing was one thing. The Ouyang family head couldn't ignore his own son. It was even more impossible for him to let Ouyang Shao get beaten up and not get back at him. Otherwise, where would the Ouyang family's face go? It was also because the Yi Jiu was too troublesome. If she had obediently allowed the holy doctor to vent his anger, wouldn't there not be so much trouble? As the Ouyang clan head thought of this, he suddenly looked at Luo Qingtong with an even more sinister and cold gaze. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. Who said that I'm fine? Following Luo Qingtong's voice, everyone immediately looked at her. Even Yu Huang was the same. He frowned and looked at Luo Qingtong, not knowing what she was going to do. Chapter 14-17. That was not wise at all. He had just shifted the focus of the attack to the glory of the southern region. If she opened her mouth now, the focus of the matter would be shifted back to her and family who. At that time, the people behind him would not necessarily work so hard. After all, he was the one who attacked, and the person the Ouyang family head was targeting was also him. Now that Luo Qingtong had opened her mouth, the target of the opponent's attention was shifted. Sure enough, the moment Luo Qingtong spoke, the Ouyang family head's gaze immediately shifted to her. What can happen to you? He sneered. There was not even a trace of disorder in the opponent's breathing, not to mention the traces of fighting. Obviously, Ouyang Shao did not even manage to touch her before he was stopped by Yu Huang. Under such circumstances, she still dared to say that she had something to do. Did she think that everyone was blind? Was she trying to absolve Yu Huang and the rest? The Ouyang family head thought of this and said coldly, "Don't say that the Ouyang family is bullying others. As long as you can tell us what you have to do. You can also make all of us agree with what you say, and we can't refute it. I'll let this matter rest. If you can't tell us, then don't blame me for being impolite. Men. Activate the defensive shield of the Ouyang family." As the master of the Ouyang family shouted coldly, a transparent light shield suddenly rose above the main courtyard of the Ouyang family. This shield might not be able to stop Yu Huang. But it was enough to deal with the other southern region experts and family whose people. He did not believe that Yu Huang and Yi Jiu would leave their people behind and escape. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. The Ouyang family actually had a defensive shield. The foundation of a top family was indeed different from that of an ordinary family. However, Luo Qingtong did not care much. She looked at the Ouyang family head indifferently. Is that so? Then I hope that the Ouyang family will keep your words. She raised her left hand and pointed at the back of her left hand with her right hand. There, it's injured here. With Luo Qingtong's movement, everyone around looked at the back of Luo Qingtong's hand. Many of the people here had just witnessed what had happened. He was very sure that Ouyang Shao did not meet Luo Qingtong. But the latter said that she had something to do. If she pretended to be injured in front of Ouyang family head and others, she would be exposed in a minute. Even if he hurt himself, he wouldn't allow it. He would definitely be seen through by the Ouyang family head and the other experts. Therefore, after thinking about it for a while, they didn't know how Luo Qingtong could prove that there was something wrong with her. Now that they heard that the back of her hand was injured, they all looked over. Even Yu Huang and the others were no exception. Pooh! When he saw the so-called injury on the back of Luo Qingtong's hand, Yu Huang couldn't hold back his laughter and burst out laughing. Hu Yinyang and the others couldn't help but laugh. Master is really too black-bellied. The surrounding crowd was also dumbfounded when they saw this. This was the so-called injury of the other party. When the Ouyang family head saw this, he was so angry that his whole body trembled. Bastard! You! This was simply playing with people. The Ouyang family head looked at the so-called injury on the back of Luo Qingtong's hand and his face was filled with anger. He was about to flip out on the spot. Chapter 14:18. It's just a few scratches. It didn't even break the skin. You call this an injury? Then what are his son's injuries called? Ouyang family head was extremely angry. Luo Qingtong slowly opened her mouth. What about me? I'm also injured. Ouyang family head, don't you want me to prove that I'm not injured? I've already proven it. These injuries were scratched by that little fox. Luo Qingtong said and turned to look at Feng Wan and the others. This little fox is yours, right? N. Luo Qingtong's eyes slightly raised. Didn't Feng Wan want to slander her? As she wished. No. It's not ours. Feng Wan coldly looked at Luo Qingtong's actions. Did the other party think she could escape like this? Pushing the responsibility to that little fox and then indirectly pushing it to Ouyang family to prove that it was Ouyang Shao who did it. Dream on. Feng Wan sneered. She won't succeed. When Feng Wan opened his mouth, he had already calculated everything. Luo Qingtong's intention was so obvious, he believed that Ouyang family people also saw it. If he denied it like this, no one would suspect that he just lied to Ouyang Shao and instigated him to fight with Luo Qingtong. She would only think that he purposely said that the little fox was not his in order to prevent Luo Qingtong's scheme from succeeding. He believed that Ouyang Shao also thought so. Sure enough, after Ouyang Shao heard Feng Wan's words, he recovered from the pain and quickly said, "That's right. This little fox is not ours. Yi Zhou, didn't you say that this little fox is yours?" Ouyang Shao's face was fierce and his eyes were cold. One of his hands was almost crushed by Yu Huang. This enmity, he must take revenge. Luo Qingtong and the others can no longer struggle. Oh, that's right. Unexpectedly, Luo Qingtong suddenly changed the topic after hearing their words. This little fox is mine. So why does it want to catch me? You even grabbed it so hard. Luo Qingtong raised her hand and pointed at the scratch on her hand that would break her skin if it went any deeper. One had to know that she had the physique of a Wuzong. Even if she did not use her qi to protect her body, she would not have been scratched by a little fox just by relying on the defensive power of her skin. The latter must have used a great deal of strength. In fact, the little fox was greatly frightened. The moment Ouyang Shao made his move, it couldn't control the fear in its body and fiercely grabbed Luo Qingtong. At that time, Luo Qingtong was preparing to give it to Hu Yenyang to take care of. In addition, this little fox's lethality wasn't great, so she didn't deliberately avoid or defend against it. These few scratch marks were left behind. At this moment, she pointed at the scratch marks on the back of her left hand and raised her eyebrows at Feng Wan, Ouyang Shao, and the others. "So, you attacked me. Master Ouyang, may I ask, under such circumstances, is there a problem with us retaliating?" Luo Qingtong opened her hand and carried over the little fox that was curled up in Hu Yenyang's arms. When the little fox was carried over by her, it was still fine. Once its gaze met Feng Wan, Ouyang Shao, and the others, its fur stood up violently and it struggled with all its might. Everyone present was used to dealing with demonic beasts when they were exploring outside. Naturally, they knew that most demonic beast cubs had this kind of nature and instinct. Chapter 14-19. You. Ouyang family head was so angry that he was at a loss for words. Pointing at Luo Qingtong, he was speechless. He wanted to refute. However, he could take advantage of the fact that the surrounding families did not dare to say much and the southern mountain range people were not clear about the situation to make things difficult for Luo Qingtong and Yu Sihuang. But now that Luo Qingtong had obviously taken out the evidence, if he still did not let it go, then he would really be deliberately provoking a dispute with the southern mountain range. After all, when Luo Qingtong was in the wrong, he could take action against the other party. But if there was no mistake, if they took action, then it would be deliberately provoking and targeting Yu Sihuang. Damn it! Ouyang family head's heart was filled with anger, but he had no choice but to swallow it down. On the other hand, Feng Wan was about to be angered to death by Luo Qingtong's words. She thought that Luo Qingtong had asked her if the little fox was theirs to shirk responsibility. But she did not expect that the other party would use these words to successfully remove herself from the blame. Not only that, she had also openly asked for the little fox. Obviously, that little fox was not the other party's. Simply hateful. This evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Feng Yuan was so angry in her heart that she clenched her teeth tightly, almost biting her silver teeth in half. If she had gone along with Luo Qingtong's words, then she would have been fine. If she admitted that the little fox was theirs, then Luo Qingtong would not have been able to use that little wound to checkmate them. But now, she had let the other party take advantage of her. She had cupped her hands, that little fox. And all the reasons and paths that Luo Qingtong could use to cause trouble were completely blocked. How infuriating. Losing to Luo Qingtong twice in a row, Feng Wan was about to go crazy. Previously, she had lost to Luo Qingtong in terms of medical skills, elixirs, and all kinds of ability. Now, even the scheming that she was most proud of had lost to the other party. Moreover, she had lost so thoroughly and had been set up by Luo Qingtong. Feng Wan was really angry. Yu Sihuang, on the other hand, was smiling as he went to Luo Qingtong's side and whispered, "Tong Tong, you're amazing." Yu Sihuang did not expect Luo Qingtong to make a comeback under such circumstances. He had thought that he would have to fight with the Ouyang family's people, and was prepared. But he did not expect that Luo Qingtong so easily. Not only that, but she had also angered the other party to this extent. Thinking about this, Yu Sihuang suddenly smiled brightly. That laughter, it was deep and at the same time. Meeting Luo Qingtong was probably the luckiest thing in his life. This girl was so different from the rest. Every time he was with her, there would be a different surprise. The more Yu Sihuang interacted with her, the more he could feel the other party's charm that was different from other women. She was like a deep sea, no matter how he explored, he could not see the bottom. This kind of feeling, for him and Yi Qianxian, who were in high positions and had seen almost all the women in the world, had an extremely fatal attraction. After all, in this world, there were many beauties, and there were also many powerful beauties. But Luo Qingtong, there was only one. Ha! Tong Tong, I really like you more and more. Yu Si Huang approached Luo Qingtong and whispered in her ear. Chapter 1420. Yu Si Huang was tempting Luo Qingtong, wanting to let this woman discover his unique charm. The young lady was really too attractive, he couldn't let go, really wanted to snatch her from Yi Qianxian. Yu Si Huang's pair of amorous and charming peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly. Luo Qingtong didn't have time to bother with him. She looked at Feng Wan's angry figure who was about to turn and leave, and suddenly said, "What? You're leaving just like that?" Only Feng Wan was about to leave, along with Ouyang Xiao, who was being supported by a group of Ouyang family guards, and was about to go down for treatment. Suddenly, everyone's gaze turned towards their direction. "Yi Zhou, what are you trying to do?" Ouyang family head was forced to swallow the anger of his son being injured, and his heart was already sullen enough. Seeing that Ouyang Xiao and the rest were about to be stopped by Luo Qingtong for treatment, he was instantly enraged. "Don't go overboard. Xiao Er is injured to this extent, don't tell me you won't allow him to go down for treatment. Don't tell me you want to kill him to compensate for that little bit of injury." To compensate. Ouyang family head bit on the word injury, and his words were full of anger and sarcasm. What kind of thing was this Yi Zhou? If it wasn't for the people of the southern mountain range here, if it wasn't for the fact that he didn't have the confidence to kill Yu Si Huang and the rest here, and not leave any future troubles. How could he allow her to be so presumptuous in his own family? If she really dared to be unforgiving and be presumptuous, then don't blame him for being impolite. At that time, these people of the southern mountain range wouldn't be so protective of her anymore. After all, he was the one who went up against Yu Si Huang first. Otherwise, if it was just one Luo Qingtong, the people of the southern mountain range might not be so united in interfering. Ouyang family head's face was filled with anger, but Luo Qingtong's face was indifferent. She smiled lightly and said, "Ouyang family head's words are wrong. Don't tell me your Ouyang family has injured people, and doesn't need to compensate and apologize. I don't need your Ouyang family to be a cow or horse to compensate. Of course, I won't take young Master Ouyang's life. I only need..." The smile on her face rose slightly, and she said, "They just have to fulfill their threats and threats to me. 2 choices. As long as one of them is achieved, this matter will be considered over. Young Master Ouyang, Miss Luan Her, don't you agree?" Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wan, whose expressions changed greatly after hearing her words. She had said that she would definitely return the choice that the two of them had given her. 2 choices. What choice? Ouyang family head's brows furrowed. He had arrived late and did not know what had happened before this. However, no matter how he thought about it, neither of these 2 choices was a good thing. After all, it was his son who suggested it first. Immediately, a guard of the Ouyang family transmitted a message to him and explained everything that had just happened clearly. The head of the Ouyang family was instantly enraged. "That's impossible. Chopping off their hands, kneeling and apologizing, the Ouyang clan would never do that. Not to mention in front of so many families. The face of the Ouyang family must not be lost. Yi Zhou, do you really have to be so overbearing?" Chapter 1421. Give an inch and you want a mile. Is this also the southern region's intention? The Ouyang family head swept his gaze over the people of the southern region. The people of the southern region frowned slightly. In their opinion, it was fine for Luo Qingtong to stop while she was ahead. After all, her strength was not obvious. She relied on Yu Siwang's strength to protect her. But what was the other party's intention? Relying on the power of the southern region, they deliberately went against the Ouyang family. You really don't know your limits. This was not the southern region. They would be at a disadvantage if they went against the Ouyang family and other families here. The group of people looked at Luo Qingtong. Before they could say anything, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded again. Ouyang family head, you're exaggerating. These two choices were proposed by young Lord Ouyang himself. What's more, he was injured because he failed to attack me and was instead injured by Yu Siwang. He deserved it. But the matter of the little fox being frightened by him and scratching me is a different matter. How can you lump these two things together? Anne. I'm not that kind of unreasonable person. As she spoke, her gaze shifted to Feng Yuan, whose expression suddenly darkened. She had an inexplicable bad premonition in her heart. The conflict between me and young Lord Ouyang was caused by Miss Luan. Since Ouyang family head does not want young Lord Ouyang to apologize, that's fine. Let Miss Luan, take his place. After all, the two of them are engaged. What do you think, Ouyang family head? As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, Feng Luan's teeth were about to break. Bastard! How dare you! Feng Luan's heart was filled with shock and anger. She did not expect that Luo Qingtong's words were directed at her. To deal with Ouyang Shao, it was fake. The other party was completely directed at her. She wanted to use the Ouyang family to attack her. Bastard! Evil Dr. Gui Tong, how dare you! Feng Luan was furious to the extreme. Ouyang family's master began to seriously consider Luo Qingtong's proposal. To him, the most important thing right now was to get this troublesome matter over with as soon as possible. The Ouyang clan was slapped by Luo Qingtong left and right in front of so many clans. They had almost lost all their face. I can't continue to be treated as a joke. Otherwise, who knew how long the Ouyang clan would continue to be a laughingstock in Wildland City? Thinking like this, Ouyang family head was very dissatisfied with Feng Luan who caused all of this. If the other party had enmity with this Yi Zhou, then so be it. If you want to take revenge, then take revenge. The Ouyang clan had created everything for her, but they still fell into the other party's hands. Not only that, he even dragged the Ouyang family down with him. Since that was the case, what was she going to take revenge for? It would be better to just watch the show from the sidelines. Or wait until they reached the Saint King's tomb. She would have plenty of opportunities to attack the other party. But she had to deliver herself to the door at this time to be dealt with. Ouyang family head's heart was filled with anger. He did not hesitate and nodded. All right. Luan, apologize to young Master Yi Zhou. His eyes were filled with warning as he stared coldly at Feng Luan. The meaning in his eyes was very obvious. This is your own fault. Holy Doctor, you can't let our Ouyang clan take the blame. Chapter 1422. Miss Luan, please think of the bigger picture and apologize to ninth young Master Yi. After all, young Master has already been injured because of you. Behind the Ouyang family head, a group of experts from the Ouyang family also spoke in a deep voice. In their opinion, this matter was completely caused by Feng Luan. Ouyang Shao had already injured one of his hands because of her. Could it be that she couldn't even apologize for him? If that was the case, then there was nothing much for her to say to the Ouyang family. Luo Qingtong's words just now knocked on the hearts of the Ouyang family members, causing their gazes towards Feng Luan to become somewhat unfriendly. They were indeed in a cooperative relationship with Feng Luan, but it didn't mean that the Ouyang family would always be the scapegoat for him. They didn't have that obligation. Moreover, Feng Luan was obviously suspected of using Ouyang Shao. Everyone in the Ouyang family had heard everything that had happened before clearly. You all. Feng Wuan was anxious in her heart. She was a dignified princess of Great Yong and had been in charge of the imperial court since young. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? If her identity hadn't been taken away, how would an aristocratic family like the Ouyang family dare to treat her like this when she personally came? Speaking of which, all of this was because of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Her identity was taken away and she had to travel to the far west wilderness alone. All of this was caused by him. Now, he actually wanted her to kneel and apologize to him. Dream on. Feng Wuan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Her life had been smooth. Wealth, glory, and power were all within her reach. Only Yi Qianxian and the evil Dr. Ghost Eye were thwarted. However, Yi Qianxian was the Dark Lord of the Black Field. His power and glory were above her. What was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? What right did he have to be above her? Feng Wuan was unconvinced. Since the first time she lost to Luo Qingtong, she was unconvinced in her heart. All right. I apologize to her. Feng Wuan coldly spoke. After which, she turned and looked at Ouyang Shao, who was being supported by the guards of the Ouyang clan. Ah, Shao, I'll apologize to her on your behalf. You can go and rest, don't look. Feng Wuan's voice was very soft and gentle. Others didn't find anything wrong with what he said, but Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes at once. Hypnotism. No, it didn't seem like it. There seemed to be something missing. While Luo Qingtong was lost in her thoughts, Feng Wuan, whose back was facing the crowd, looked at Ouyang Shao with a purple and green luster in her eyes. The luster spun rapidly in her eyes. Like two extremely dazzling and deep whirlpools, they revolved around her eyes. Alright, Ouyang Shao had already received a sound transmission warning from the Ouyang family head that he was not allowed to do anything that would disgrace the Ouyang family because of Feng Wuan. Otherwise, he would not be spared. Listening to Feng Wuan's words, he nodded subconsciously. However, as soon as he spoke, his mind suddenly felt dizzy. In the next second, he fiercely broke away from the guards who were supporting him and rushed in front of Luo Qingtong. He shouted coldly, "You're dreaming. You want us to apologize for you. Who do you think you are? You want to humiliate our Ouyang family. You're not qualified. Isn't it just a hand? I'll compensate you." While speaking, Ouyang Shao had already pulled out his weapon and chopped at his injured right hand. Shao, Seeing this scene, the Ouyang family head and the others were instantly shocked. Chapter 14:23. Cutting off a hand. Even if Ouyang Shao's hand was reattached and restored to its original state, there would still be a lot of resistance to his future advancement. After all, it had been cut off before. There was a faint barrier and obstruction between the meridians. And all of this was caused by Luo Qingtong. At that moment, the Ouyang family's anger towards Luo Qingtong rose to the extreme. Especially the head of the Ouyang family, he did not expect Ouyang Shao to do this. If Ouyang Shao's hand was really cut off like this, he would not care about anything else. He would definitely make Luo Qingtong and the rest pay the price. Even if he could not do anything to Yu Sihuang and Luo Qingtong, he would make the rest of the people, especially family whose people, accompany Ouyang Shao's hand to the grave. The head of the Ouyang family and the rest rushed forward, trying to stop Ouyang Shao. However, the latter's movements were extremely fast. No one expected him to suddenly cut off his own hand. They could not make it in time. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong looked at Ouyang Shao's actions and slightly narrowed her eyes. This feeling, she looked at Feng Wuan, only to see the latter standing in the crowd. In his eyes, there was a faint purple and green light flashing. A faintly discernible connection was formed between her and Ouyang Shao. Eye technique. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed slightly. The bloody light in her eyes clearly saw the connection between Feng Wan and Ouyang Xiao. Feng Wan also had different eyes and new eye techniques. No wonder she would let Luo Xianning destroy the original owner's eyes. The thing that Luo Qingtong did not understand before was finally clear. She was thinking, with Feng Wan's personality and arrogance, why would he suddenly attack the original owner? She had deep feelings for Yuan Ma, but the truth was obviously not like that. Moreover, with Feng Wan's means, if she really loved Yuan Ma and could not tolerate the original owner, why would she just destroy the original owner's eyes? If Feng Wan did it personally, the original owner would not have lived until the time when she transmigrated, so, it was because of that pair of eyes? Interesting. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. This was the first time she saw someone who also practiced eye techniques. When Luo Qingtong was in the secret room of the Luo family, she already knew that there were other people who practiced eye techniques in this world. But she did not expect Feng Wan to be one of them. However, the eye technique in this world was completely different from the one Luo Qingtong cultivated. Luo Qingtong's eye technique was engraved in her bones and even her soul. She did not need to practice. Once she awakened, she could immediately learn 100 techniques. She could see through all the illusions in this world. The level of her strength did not affect her ability to execute eye techniques, but the might of her eye techniques would be different. But the eye techniques in this world was not like this. Just like the soul of the soul's soul, Luo Wan's eye techniques. And Luo Qingtong had many eye techniques that the eye techniques in this world did not have. Of course, this could also be because the eye techniques in the secret room of the Luo family were not fully recorded. After all, it had been too long. Even old Master Luo could not clearly explain the past of the Luo family. But one thing was for sure, Luo Qingtong's eye technique was far superior to the eye techniques in this world. Bang! Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed. The light in her eyes was as red as blood. Chapter 14:24. A psychic power swept out silently like a sharp blade, accurately cutting off the connection between Ouyang Xiao and Feng Wan. The latter was using her eye technique to control Ouyang Xiao's every move. This was Feng Wan's trump card, and she would never use it easily. This time, she really couldn't bear it anymore. Just now, she used her eye technique to control Ouyang Xiao's movements, vowing to make Luo Qingtong pay the price. Once Ouyang Xiao's hand was chopped off because of Luo Qingtong's accountability, the Ouyang family would inevitably fly into a rage and recklessly make a move against Luo Qingtong. At that time, she would wait for the opportunity to make a move, and Yu Siwang might not be able to protect Luo Qingtong. She wanted the other party to pay the price for making her apologize just now. Originally, Feng Wan decided to keep Luo Qingtong alive, and wait until her plan in the Saint King's tomb succeeded. Only then would she let the other party die in endless humiliation and despair. But now, she changed her mind. She wanted Luo Qingtong to die now. And the Ouyang family dared to make her apologize to Luo Qingtong. She would chop off Ouyang Xiao's right hand as punishment. If it weren't for the fact that she still needed their help in the future plan, she would definitely make the entire Ouyang family pay the price for the words they said to her before. Feng Wan's eyes were proud and cold. However, all of a sudden, her expression changed drastically. The place where Luo Qingtong's psychic power cut through, her connection with Ouyang Xiao's eye technique was instantly cut off. At the same time, Ouyang Xiao raised his right hand and stopped. It was this pause that immediately, the Ouyang family's head and the others who couldn't stop him in time caught up and restrained him. The Ouyang family's head slapped Ouyang Xiao hard, almost sending him flying. He angrily ordered the people around him, "Take this evil creature back and lock him in the house to reflect on himself." The head of the Ouyang family was extremely angry. My son doesn't give me any peace of mind. He wants to chop off his hand in front of so many people. He has really made the Ouyang family a joke. After giving Ouyang Shao a slap, he turned to Luo Qingtong angrily and was about to lose his temper. At this moment, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and said with an indifferent expression, "Young Lord Ouyang and his fiancée really have deep feelings for each other. I only asked Miss Luan to apologize on his behalf and he became so agitated. He even wanted to chop off his hand. He's really a love-struck fool. The upbringing of the Ouyang family is excellent." As soon as Luo Qingtong's words came out, the head of the Ouyang family was furious. He suddenly remembered that Luo Qingtong had already decided not to pursue the matter with the Ouyang family. As long as Feng Wuan apologized, this matter would immediately be dropped. This matter was caused by Feng Wuan. Naturally, she should apologize. Was he wrong in making this decision? However, what was going on with Ouyang Shao? He openly disobeyed his orders and wanted to chop off his hand for Feng Wuan. Could it be that in his eyes, the humiliation of an outsider was not as important as the honor of the Ouyang family? What a bastard! Moreover, he was so angry that he wanted to chop off his hand. Was he deliberately doing it for them to see? Because they asked the holy doctor to apologize, he couldn't stand it. Using such an action to disobey them. Thinking of this, the head of the Ouyang family instantly became furious. As the head of a top family, he naturally wouldn't allow his son to disobey him like this. And it's fine if you apologize. If it were me, I wouldn't let you off so easily. Since you've already apologized, then so be it. Oh right, why aren't you thanking my brother for his magnanimity? When Yu Xingqi said this, he secretly made a funny face at Luo Qingtong. Chapter 14:26. Yu Xingqi was indeed a little witch. Not only did she raise herself up with these words, but she also ruthlessly ridiculed Feng Wuan. She even forced Feng Wuan to thank her in the end. She had slapped herself in the face and still wanted to thank her for this beating. Luo Qingtong couldn't bear to look at Feng Wuan's face. The latter was in high spirits, controlling the life and death of the original owner. She was proud and arrogant, thinking that she was the only one in the world. She probably never thought that she would have such a day, right? Crawling in front of others, lowly as dust. She had once crippled the original owner's eyes and wanted to destroy the original owner's life with a thought. Now, she wanted to take revenge for the original Luo Qingtong bit by bit. Ninth Young Master Yi, many, many thanks. Feng Wuan's words were practically squeezed out from the gaps between her teeth. She lowered her head, the expression in her eyes was extremely sinister and vicious. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, don't be complacent. This matter isn't over yet. When the Saint King's tomb opens and my plan succeeds, I want all of you to die incomparably miserably. Feng Wuan kept telling herself this point. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would faint in front of Luo Qingtong. Evil Dr. Gui Tong, and those people around her, they were all good people. She would remember them. They would wait for her. Feng Wuan finally gritted her teeth and left with the people escorting Ouyang Shao with blood dripping from the corners of her lips. She glanced at Luo Qingtong with resentment before leaving with those people. At this time, it was safest to follow the people of the Ouyang family. Especially by Ouyang Shao's side. This young master of the Ouyang family would be her best protective talisman now. And after Feng Wuan and the others left, everyone's eyes immediately focused on the Ouyang family head and the others. Not for anything else, but they didn't forget that they came to the Ouyang family for the Saint King's Tomb conference held by the Ouyang family. Here, only the people of the Ouyang family had the qualifications to speak. And the Ouyang family head, under everyone's gaze, also suppressed the anger in his heart and nodded to the crowd. "Everyone, I was not strict with my discipline just now and let you see a joke. Now, everyone take your places. Let's discuss the opening of the Saint King's tomb. Ninth young Master Yi. Please." The Ouyang family heads looked at Luo Qingtong was extremely cold. Although he didn't have a good impression of Luo Qingtong because of Feng Yuan's words, it wasn't to the extent of hating her. Feng Si. But at this moment, because of the series of events just now, although the Ouyang family head vented most of his anger on Feng Yuan and blamed her for causing the trouble, he was still angry. But at the same time, he was very angry with Luo Qingtong in his heart. The other party insisted on going against Feng Yuan and even made the Ouyang family lose face. At this moment, he didn't order his men to retract the defensive barrier that enveloped his family. This Saint King's Tomb conference was originally aimed at Luo Qingtong and the others. Originally, the Ouyang family was only prepared to watch from the sidelines and let the Huo family and the other top families fight against Yu Sihuang and the others. They only wanted to be the peacemaker in the middle so that they could curry favor with both sides. But now, he changed his mind. Chapter 14:27. They wanted to let the other party know what a mistake it was to offend the Ouyang family and not give them face in the wild city of the Ouyang family's territory. So what if she had the protection of the Imperial Emperor sect? This was not the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. Yu Sihuang was not the powerful Ming Zun of the Black Field. If the Ming Zun of the Black Field was here, they might not dare to be presumptuous. But Yu Sihuang, his strength was not enough to cover the sky. At least, the top families in the wild city were not afraid of him. This Yi Zhou, he was too arrogant. Did he think that he could be presumptuous in front of the top families just because Yu Sihuang and the people of the southern region were behind her? The Ouyang family had sneered and led the people of the Ouyang family to sit on the main seat in the square. The Huo family head and the rest also sat opposite and around Luo Qingtong and the rest with smiles on their faces. The seats of the top families were there. The people from the other clans were seated below them. Today, I invited everyone to the Ouyang family to discuss entering the Saint King's tomb. Indeed, as everyone knows, 2 maps of the Saint King's tomb have appeared. And the more comprehensive this map fragment is, the clearer it is about the mechanisms and secret passages in the Saint King's tomb. But no one knows where those map fragments are and how many copies there are. The Ouyang family has previously told everyone that we will set a deadline of 1 month. If the other map fragments have not appeared, the Ouyang family will also lead everyone to explore the Saint King's tomb. But now, another map of the Saint King's tomb has appeared. It is in the hands of the family who, 9th young Master Yi. And now, the 1-month deadline is approaching. The Ouyang family has decided to follow the previous agreement and lead everyone to explore the Saint King's tomb. We will lead the way together with 9th young Master Yi. I wonder what everyone thinks. As soon as the Ouyang family head spoke, the voices of the Huo family sounded instantly. The Huo family has objections. The Huo family head stood up. In fact, the Ouyang family head had already discussed this matter with them before. A group of people had already set up a trap for Luo Qingtong. Ouyang family head, the Huo family and the other top families have no objections to your Ouyang family being the leader. But why should family whose people and Yi Zhou be with you and lead the way for us? The Huo family head sneered as he looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. It's true that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is in their hands, but it's not enough to become a guide just because they have the map. Otherwise, if something unexpected happens and they can't handle it, what are we going to do? Wait for death. The Huo family's patriarch was extremely cunning. He secretly changed the concept of the Saint Monarch's tomb map. He directly pointed out that Luo Qingtong and the others were not qualified to have the Saint Monarch's tomb map. In fact, Luo Qingtong and the others had the map of the sage monarch's tomb. It was completely up to them whether they wanted to lead the way or not. Those who did not have the map of the saint monarch's tomb would still encounter danger even if they did not lead the way. However, after the Hua and Ouyang family heads spoke, they directly linked the possession of the map of the saint monarch's tomb with their strength. Chapter 1428. As soon as Patriarch Hua's words sounded, Luo Qingtong and the others instantly knew what they were up to. Big sister, these people are too shameless. Yu Xingqi hugged the little white cat as he squeezed in front of Luo Qingtong and muttered. She had always felt that she had always been one to speak the human language. Sometimes, it could be said that she was very shameless for tricking her brother for no reason. She didn't expect Patriarch Hua and the others to be even more powerful than her. How was this being shameless? Was this being shameless from the beginning? Luo Qingtong and the others had the map. What did it have to do with these people whether they were qualified or not and how strong they were? What did it have to do with Luo Qingtong and the others if the Ouyang family wanted to be the leader and act like a big wolf? Luo Qingtong could choose not to take out this map of the sage monarch's tomb if she was happy. If she was unhappy, she could choose not to take it out. However, Patriarch Hua's words made it seem like this map of the sage monarch's tomb was a public item. Those without strength and influence couldn't have it. Those with strength and influence could have it, but those who weren't powerful enough couldn't have it. This could be said to be quite laughable. Their motive was simply too obvious. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others were also furious. Before they came, they already had a hunch that this was definitely a trap. But they didn't expect Patriarch Hua and the others to be so blatant. How could they say such disgusting words? Family whose own things were said to be something that couldn't be possessed by those without strength. Then who was qualified to have it? Apart from the Ouyang family, only the Hua family and the other top families were qualified to have it, right? Sure enough, after Patriarch Hua's words fell, the patriarchs of the top families on both sides of them immediately echoed his words. Exploring the sage monarch's tomb is a big deal. We should be cautious. Family Hu and Yizhou aren't strong enough. Even with the help of the people from the southern region, I'm afraid it's inevitable that there will be oversights. In my opinion, why don't family Hu take out this map of the sage monarch's tomb? When the time comes, we'll lead everyone together and lead the way with the Ouyang family. This is the best choice. That's right. This is something that will benefit everyone. Ninth Young Master Yi and everyone from family Hu, please give up on us for the greater good. Don't you agree? A group of people from the top families, one after another, were talking about Luo Qingtong, family Hu, and Yu Si Wang's ability was not as good as theirs. It would be better to give them the map of the sage monarch's tomb. His ambition was as clear as day. None of the people present were fools. How could they not understand the purpose of their words? However, he had heard from the top clans that once they got a map of the saint monarch's tomb, they would go with the Ouyang clan and lead the way. The group of people from the other clans fell silent. The proposal of the Hua family head and the other top families was beneficial to them. Other things aside, a family like theirs certainly didn't have the qualifications and strength to compete with Luo Qingtong and the others for the map of the saint monarch's tomb. When they attended the Grand Assembly of the saint monarch's tomb previously, they didn't have any hopes for the map. After all, behind family Hu and Luo Qingtong was the ruler of the southern region, the imperial emperor sect master. They only hoped to enter the saint monarch's tomb and try their luck. Chapter 1429. If Patriarch Hua and the others were willing to lead the way for them after obtaining the map, they would at least have more chances in the Saint King's tomb. On the contrary, if Luo Qingtong and the rest held the map, even if the other party was willing to lead the way for them with the Ouyang family, they might not be able to get many chances under the other party's protection. After all, family whose strength was low. Even if Luo Qingtong and the others obtained something along the way, it would inevitably be given to family who first. However, if Patriarch Hua and the others held the map of the Saint King's tomb, the things that the top clans did not want would belong to their clans. The crowd instantly distinguished the gains and losses and immediately stood on the side of Patriarch Hua and the others. We also agree with Patriarch Hua and the others. Yes, that map of the Saint King's tomb, if Patriarch Hua and the others hold it, it will make us feel more at ease. The large and small forces who came to participate in the Saint King's Tomb convention, after a moment of silence at the beginning, all spoke up and echoed the words of Patriarch Hua and the others. The reaction of these people was not beyond the expectations of Patriarch Ouyang and the others. Even if everyone could see that they wanted to snatch the map of the Saint King's tomb from Luo Qingtong and the others, so what? When it came to their own interests, these people would not stand on Luo Qingtong's side at all. Even if the latter had the backing of Yu Sihuang and the others from the southern region, so what? With their strength alone, they could not be compared to them at all. In this place full of people, no one would stand on their side. After resolving the hidden danger of public anger, what could Luo Qingtong and the others use to compete with the top clans? Patriarch Hua sneered. Today, even if Yi Jiu did not want to hand over the map of the Saint King's tomb, he had to hand it over. There was no room for struggle. Ninth young master, as you can see, the opinions of everyone present are the same. It can be seen that the map of the Saint King's tomb is what everyone wants. Ninth young master, please consider the big picture and take out the map of the Saint King's tomb. Don't ruin the harmony between us just because of this. After all, we don't want to do it ourselves. It wouldn't be good if there were any unnecessary casualties, wouldn't it? Ninth young master. The Hua family's patriarch's face was complacent, and he looked at Luo Qingtong with ridicule and coldness. Family whose people had put on a show in front of the Hua residence, and he was still angry about it. According to what he knew, all of this had come from the youth before him called Yi Jiu. She was the one who had single-handedly led the changes in family Hu. She had pulled the family Hu, which was on the verge of decline, out of the mire. Furthermore, she was the one who had single-handedly destroyed the Bai clan. If it wasn't for Yu Sihuang and the others behind her, how could family whose people survive until now? It had long been destroyed by the Bai family's conspiracy. At the very least, the whole clan would be able to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb and enjoy it for themselves. They would not need to join forces with so many top clans to attack them and snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Patriarch Hua had made up his mind. Even if they managed to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, Luo Qingtong would not have it easy. Chapter 1430. Patriarch Hua sneered. Not to mention anything else, he wanted her to have a taste of the humiliation that Yi Jiu had inflicted on the Hua clan. Patriarch Hua's words were full of threats, and anyone could understand the meaning behind his words. He wanted Luo Qingtong and the others to not give them a chance to attack. Otherwise, they would definitely not show mercy. This threat made Luo Qingtong's eyes narrow fiercely, and the sharpness and blood-red light in her eyes flashed. I also agree with Patriarch Hua's opinion. Unexpectedly, just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong would not compromise so easily, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly sounded leisurely. The youth gently fanned herself with the folding fan in her hand, and the smile on her lips was half evil and half lazy. She raised her eyebrows slightly as she looked at the eyebrows of the Hua clan's patriarch and the others. Because of her lazy and happy posture, she revealed a different kind of charm, causing her ordinary face, which had been modified, to look a little different from the rest. What? Are you surprised that I said I agree? Luo Qingtong fanned herself and looked disdainfully at Patriarch Hua and the others who were suddenly stunned. In fact, not only them, but even Yu Sihuang and Hu Yannyang were stunned. Young master. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others looked at Luo Qingtong. The former was still okay. After being by Luo Qingtong's side for a long time, she had seen many surprises. Although she was surprised, she could still barely control herself. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei stood up fiercely. Young master. You can't agree to them. Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei, and the others were extremely anxious. It was not that they were reluctant to give up the map of the Saint King's tomb. It was because they knew that even if Luo Qingtong really agreed to the other party's wishes, the other party would not let them off easily. They would definitely humiliate and make things difficult for them. Since that was the case, why should they let them get what they wanted so easily? Hu Zhongtian and the others were anxious. Yu Si Huang also frowned as he looked at Luo Qingtong. Little Zhou, The other party was not a woman who would be taken advantage of so easily. Yu Si Huang and Luo Qingtong had known each other for quite some time. Naturally, he knew that this seemingly petite, gentle and soft girl had an unruly, cold and domineering soul. The other party was the same type of person as him and Yi Qianxian. They were born with the domineering aura of a king. If you were to soften up and go along with her requests, she would be fine. Even if you were to go overboard, the girl wouldn't be too calculative with you. However, if someone like the Huo clan's patriarch tried to use force to pressure her and force her to lower her head, then she would definitely not compromise easily. Not to mention that the Huo family would suffer. At the very least, these people who were forcing her should not even think about getting their way. What's going on? Yu Si Huang frowned. He had previously advised Luo Qingtong to release a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb if the situation was not right. However, when he saw the attitude of the Huo clan's patriarch and the others, he knew that this matter was hopeless. Who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would actually agree? The Huo clan's patriarch and the others were also quite surprised. They had just seen Luo Qingtong's domineering attitude towards Yang Shao and the others. They thought that Luo Qingtong would not agree and were already prepared to take action. They did not expect the other party to actually agree. It seemed that this Yi Zhou was quite self-aware. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.